Thank you all for coming. My name is Dan Beck. I'm an attorney with Beck Law, and I'm here with Robert Kennedy and Rachel Mackey, an associate in our firm. We had a case against Hanna Boys Center in the Santa Rosa Diocese of the Catholic Church. We settled that case for $6.8 million, the largest single settlement that this scandal-plagued school and diocese has paid. The case was against Hanna for the abuse of two brothers. Robert Kennedy is here because he wants to stand for those that have been abused and wants to be the voice of those silent people who need a home in which to come to in order to give their story, where it's safe and where it's confidential. The case is one that involved 2 years of litigation. We collaborated with Manley, Finaldi, and Stewart of Riverside. They couldn't be here because of travel complications, but they were a key component in this case, and for which we formed the team that gave everything that we could to protect those that have been abused. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Robert Kennedy. As I said, Robert is very passionate about wanting to be here and wanting to be a voice. And with that, I'd like to introduce Robert Kennedy, who has a few words to say. Robert?
Hi. Okay. I'm speaking today because I would like to let other survivors of sexual assault know that what happened to you is not your fault. For those who have yet to speak out, please know there's no standard way survivors talk about sexual assault. I understand it is hard to talk about, so do it any way you feel comfortable. I hope that my story will help you. I had many fears before I spoke out. I wondered if I would be believed or if I would be blamed. Would I have to relive what happened? Will everyone judge me? And if I speak out, will it even matter? One day I was talking to another person who graduated from Hanna Boys Center. We were talking about how similar our childhoods were, even though he grew up in California and I grew up in Ohio. We then started to talk about our experiences at Hanna. We had the same caseworker. He told me how our caseworker, Kevin Thorpe, would always make sexual remarks toward him disguised as jokes, and how other staff members would overhear, but they didn't do anything about it. My friend said that he thought that Thorpe would actually do something sexual to him if he could. When my friend told me that, I knew that he would believe me if I told him Thorpe actually sexually abused me. So I came out, and he encouraged me to tell somebody. I knew that I couldn't tell anyone who works at Hanna Boys Center or the Catholic Church that oversees the place. I knew they would silence me. They would act like it never happened, the same way Joseph Felice turned around and pretending nothing happened when he walked in Thorpe's office and watched as I was being sexually abused. After that took place, I spent years being sexually abused. Hanna Boys Center and the Catholic Church still doesn't believe me, and Joseph Felice still works at Hanna. When Kevin Thorpe was first arrested and made the news, I had many staff members and former boys as friends on Facebook. I read comments from staff members at Hanna accusing me as someone who just wanted a quick buck from the school. I thought that if only they knew it was me saying this, they would believe me. I already knew that I couldn't tell anyone at Hanna what happened to me, but after finding out the collective efforts by the church and Hanna to silence me and protect Thorpe, I was even more convinced that I made the right choice. All the fears I had before coming out because of the church and Hanna Boys Center not believing me, I had to relive the sexual abuse. I was blamed, I was called a liar, and I was judged. even though I have evidence, even though Thorpe admitted that he sexually abused me. I know why some people take their sexual abuse to the grave. It is because of people in this world like Father Cruz and Joseph Felice. When deciding who to tell, I decided to tell a lawyer. I reached out to Beck Law. I was treated very respectfully and felt comfortable enough to talk about my sexual abuse. They believed me. They also put me in touch with Manley Stewart and Finaldi, a big law firm who specializes in these type of cases. I felt protected and I was no longer silenced. These lawyers changed my life, and I couldn't have asked for any better. Thank you.
If you have some questions for Robert or ourselves, we'd be glad to entertain it. So, questions, anybody?
What does this mean for Hanna Boys Center? Are they, is there any long-term impact from this? Are they making any changes to how their operations are done in light of this?
My understanding is that they have, as I read in, I believe, the Press Democrat, had all of their teachers and staff resign to be rehired. So there, I think, is a vetting process going on now. Also, I believe that there have been trainings that have gone on so that some of the things that we found in our investigation, such as taking children off campus without permission, traveling in their own cars without any sort of supervision, taking the children, in our case, to their homes, has ceased. And now my understanding is that you can only take children off in a Hanna van that is GPSed. So they're doing that. And the other thing is that they're, I believe, signing in and signing out, which they didn't have before. And I think they also have done something with regard to their culture. But as far as Robert is concerned, they've done nothing, because the same people, except for Thorpe, who was in prison, still work here, that were there, that looked the other way when he was abused. And Father Cruz, who was the director between '83 and 2013, when he left after sexual abuse was alleged, he was the director of Hanna. He was in charge of all of it. Since then, 6 or 7 people have come forward. The statute has prevented them from bringing any case. But Father Cruz is a retired diocesan priest. He still receives a pension, and no legal or criminal action has been taken against him. And we have no idea how many people he abused, other than the 7 that have come forward from abuse in the late 80s and early 90s. And considering the 30 years he was there, that is something that whoever may have had that happen to them should know, as Robert indicated, that it is up to them, but there is a safe place. There is a place where they will be believed. Yes.
So much to understand, Robert, have you been extended the holidays or any kind of?
They didn't take any responsibility or whatsoever. There was no apology. Nobody reached out to me.
Are you aware of or engaged in any other civil litigation against Hanna?
At this point, we are not. I can't tell you without going into detail that we do have a client that alleges abuse by Father Cruz, but the statute of limitations prevents any action. However, my understanding is that the state of California currently has legislation that it is considering, in which there's going to be a 3-year window by which those who have been abused by church members are going to be able to come forward and be allowed to file suit. I don't think that legislation has passed. It did pass during Governor Brown's term, I believe, in 2013 or 14, but he did not sign it. We believe that Governor Newsom is open to signing it, and we're hopeful that by the 1st of next year that that statute would open, and then we will act accordingly.
Do you think under Father Cruz, that he fostered a culture of abuse like this, and that by changing leadership from the top down, that it will eventually kind of bring Hanna Boys Center back to its original mission as a safe place?
That is our hope, and that is something that I know Robert would be not only supportive of, but also quite happy if it did happen. However, like he said, this lawsuit was the single highest payout, and it reflects the gravity of what happened here, but it did not come with any apology or even acknowledgement. And to this day, neither Joe Felice or the school or the diocese has in any way said that they're sorry for what happened. As to your question, absolutely. This was an individual who was held in the highest degree. He was the director of the school for 30 years. He set the tone, he set the culture. He was able to take children off campus, buy them Slurpees and other treats. He had a house on campus that he had children at. He took them to a nearby pool. He had them, in one case or maybe two cases, chop wood without their shirts as a job that he paid. So naturally, anybody that had any sort of information was not going to come forward knowing that the top was engaged in this type of activity. And this was information that came out during our litigation. We were not aware of that until the litigation started and several people came forward, and we did more investigation. And we did take Father Cruz's deposition, and in that deposition he left somewhat of a gap in outrightly denying that there was ever abuse. And in fact, what he said is, yeah, it was something that is, yeah, I think that there may have been something that you guys are doing right now that happened. And that's in black and white in his deposition.
What do you mean there might be something that you guys are doing right now?
Well, that our lawsuit for abuse against Thorpe, that he may have done something in line with what we are going after in our case, or words to that effect.
When you say the highest payout, do you mean by this diocese, or what do you mean by that?
This diocese.
Was there ever any confirmed? That's been confirmed. You've been able to look at past secret.
Yes.
Was there any point in which they asked that the settlement amount not be disclosed? Was that ever part of the negotiation?
No, and in fact, statutorily, the law is just the opposite because of the fact that in the past these cases were settled and people were made to or compelled to be silent, and now just the opposite is true. Nope, this is a final and complete settlement. Just so that you know, this was a hard-fought case. There were barriers that were put up at every stage of the way. Our client was literally grilled for 8 hours, made to feel that what he did was wrong or not true, that what he said was to be doubted. That went for both clients. They endured that and really gave them the reason why it is so difficult to come forward, that because you are put in this position of not being the accuser but being the culprit, you don't really feel like you're safe to do so. And Robert endured that and is now here because he wants to be here. The trial was supposed to start June 7th. There was what's called discovery cutoff on May 7th, in which expert witnesses and a whole bunch of other types of procedures were supposed to occur. They requested mediation, that is the church and Hanna. It was conducted the end of April, and it spanned over a period of about a week to a week and a half. And this settlement of $6.8 million was confirmed in writing and has been paid out.
Do you feel that having no sort of non-disclosure attached to this will, and getting some media attention from it, will help bring other people forward to either bring more to light or to bring additional cases?
We are here because we feel and have experienced through this and other cases what it's like to be a victim. We can never know for sure, but I can tell you that in terms of Robert and what he stands for, he was clear from the very beginning that he was going to go through the whole thing, and that he in fact wanted to make a stand, and that he did not want others in his position to be silent, to know that they don't have to hide, that they have a place for a voice. And in fact, one of the first things that we did, because of the criminal nature of the occurrences, before we did anything in this case, is we referred Robert to the crime unit of the the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department. And that was the first thing that we did before anything. And Robert was able to give a statement. And within 2 days, Thorpe was taken off the streets and arrested and charged with 21 counts with 4 victims that came forward, and pled guilty to 8 counts and is currently serving 21 years. So yes, we hope that Robert's plea is being heard, and that people know that they can be safe, and they will not only be safe, but they will be believed.
I'm wondering, have any of your classmates, have they been supportive? Have you heard informally from any other students during that time that, even informally, that they were subject to something similar?
Thorpe would, they told me that Thorpe would also make sexual remarks to them, and so they believed, my classmates believed me when I came out, and because of those remarks that Thorpe would make.
Where do you go from here? I mean, if this is the full and final judgment, I mean, this is open to all 3 of you, but where does it go from here?
In terms of Robert, in terms of this case, in terms of other cases,
Any of it. If it's full and complete settlement, for Robert, where does it go for you guys?
as far as we're concerned, we've done our job. We believe that Robert and his brother have always come first. Robert is who asked for this. This is something that he wanted to do. Where we go from here depends on whether or not there are others who feel safe in coming forward. But it's not necessarily an expectation, it's a message. And hopefully that message will be received with the way in which it's given, and that is with compassion and empathy, which is exactly what we did with Robert. And I think that if that happens, then naturally we'll look at each case and judge it on its merits.
Robert, can you get some closure? Do you think you could move forward?
I'm trying to move forward from it, but there's no. My therapist told me that there's no way to delete what happened to me, and that I should learn how to cope with it and move forward. But yeah.
Do you have a message to anybody else who might be out there just keeping this hidden, keeping it quiet? What would you say to them to give them the confidence to come forward, whether or not it's for a lawsuit? What would you say to give them the strength to become open about this?
I would say that you're not alone. Before I came out, I thought I was the only one. And then Thorpe had a few more victims than me, including my brother, that I didn't know about. And so I would say to them that you're not alone. and you don't have to be silent. There are people who will protect you in this world.
Brian, did you want to make a statement? Do you mind if
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Brian Farragher. I'm the executive director here at the Hanna Boys Center, and I can't express how sad and troubled we are about the events that have taken place here. It is our commitment to do everything we can to make sure it never happens again here, and also that we do our level best to help anybody who was hurt. I would echo, I didn't hear the whole conference, but I would echo the calls that if anybody has been hurt by anybody here at our center, that you come forward and tell us your story. Okay, as Robbie just said, you're not alone. These issues are ubiquitous in our society, and we are trying to make sure that places like this that are here to help kids who have been hurt actually do that and don't re-injure kids. So that's our commitment as an organization. We can't undo the past, but we can do a better job moving forward. So Robbie, I'm sorry for your pain and your struggles, and we're very grateful actually that you came forward so that we could address this issue. So thank you. Thanks.
Any further questions? I can't get into the detail, but yes. That part's confidential. I can't tell you that Robbie and his brother are financially very well set, and I think for the rest of their lives they will know that they have an amount that they can fall back on. Robbie is going to be going to school at the Santa Rosa Junior College in criminal justice. He is adamant that he wants to help those that are also victims and also give the benefit of his experience in going through something like this.
Does he still live in Sonoma County? Does he still live in Sonoma County?
To answer your question, yes, I live in Sonoma County. Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.